So I'll call this meeting of the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability to order at 6:04 p.m. and we'll go through the roll call. Please. Okay, Tara Dundale.
Here.
Perfect. Justin Vassell, I'm here. Matt Austin.
Present.
Zero Rose. Not here.
Yes.
Oh,
Here.
perfect. Virtual. Okay, John Eldon.
Here.
Dave Rollo.
Here.
Quentin Gilly.
Here.
Hunter Hawley. Not here. Jamie Scholl. Not here. At least not yet. Evan Nix.
Here.
And Cheng Huai Shu.
Here.
Perfect. Did I pronounce that right?
陈怀旭, but it's okay.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda, which was circulated last week. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
And there's a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey. Aye.
All right. The ayes, oh, sorry. All opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. The agenda is approved. Now we've got next the approval of the minutes, but they're not ready yet. So hopefully they will be ready for, I was working on them a little bit before this, but didn't get to it in time. So hopefully at the next one, we will have them ready to go. So in that case, I will move on to public comment. So we've got 10 minutes allocated for this. Jamie Scholl is here now. 10 minutes allocated for public comment with up to 3 minutes per person. So is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission? Okay, nobody in person, anyone online? Okay, not seeing any activity. Okay, so we'll move on to reports from commissioners then. So I sent around some slides with the packet. Okay, so as usual, just a glance at the upcoming calendar for the next number of months. We haven't done work sessions in a while, but we've been aspiring to do that, especially pick them up again. In the start of this year after the holiday season, taking a little break. So sort of a tentative calendar. Hopefully, we'll get to most of those. And then in March we'll have officer elections. I'll say more about that in a couple of minutes. So we can go to the next slide. So we've got one welcome and a couple farewells here. So on the farewell side, we have David Maynor and then Andrew Gunther, who was our vice chair. So just want to give a shout out to them and thank them for their service to the commission. I've been working with David since I started here as a commissioner, and he's been a really great person to work with, somebody who really cares about sustainability. And so he also served as our acting chair for a few months while we were in between Emma and myself. So just want to thank him for all the work that he's put into the commission during his time here. And then Andrew Gunther, who is our vice chair and was in the Monroe County Commissioner seat. And he is no longer part of the Monroe County Commissioners. And so I think that seat requires somebody to be actively serving in that position in order to meet the requirements for that seat. So while we normally like to see somebody continue to occupy a seat until a reappointment is made, I don't think in this case that's doable. But Andrew's also made some great contributions to the commission as well, and helped me out quite a bit on the back end, just working on chair stuff. So thank you to him as well. And then we have a new commissioner with us, a mayoral appointment today. So do you want to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about your background and maybe why you're interested in sustainability issues?
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Cheng Huaixu, and now I'm an SGD candidate at IU Mars School Floor. So my research is about sustainable finance, especially green bonds. And I'm also a young research fellow at European Banking Institute. So the reason why I want to join this commission is because I noticed that there are multiple green finance initiatives and activities happening in Bloomington City Hall and in Bloomington City. So I am interested in contribute to my research and turning my research into reality and serve for the community. So, and it is very honored to be here and to join you guys. Sorry I'm not here today because I received the letter before I already scheduled an international travel, but I will be there in March meetings. Thank you guys.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Definitely looking forward to working with you going forward, and welcome to the team. So next slide there, looking at the org chart. So we've got a few updates since the last time. We already talked about some of the changes just on the last slide there. So we currently have 3 vacancies that we're looking to fill soon. And then we've got a couple folks, myself and Tara, who are sort of pending reappointment that still needs to come before the city council for those appointments. So we'll wait to hear more about that in a future time. Go to the next slide. Okay, so just a few general updates. So a quick update on some of the Bloomington Municipal Code Title II changes that we had been engaged with for the last few months. We had passed just in December at our last meeting, Resolution 2024-01, which supports the proposed changes to the section that covers our commission, with the caveat that there would be a couple of changes made. Change number 1 would be that the concept of resiliency would be incorporated into the definition of sustainability. And then change number 2 was that it would specify that we coordinate with the city administration in general instead of specifically with the mayor. So those changes did end up getting incorporated into the version that was brought before the council for a first reading last week, I believe. And I think it's going to come up for a second reading. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think next week, maybe. I think it was 2 weeks after the first. Yeah, okay.
That's right.
Perfect. Happy to say that's moving along, and I really appreciated the process that the special committee took to get the feedback from all the different commissions, ours included. I think it was good that we had a dialogue that went on over a pretty substantial period of time to end up at the final version that's going before the council. So I'm happy with how that played out. Next item is officer elections next month. So I've got another slide on that, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. And then the 2024 annual report. So we're generally supposed to produce an annual report that sort of summarizes what we've done over the past year and maybe looks ahead a little bit into what we're planning to achieve over the upcoming year. And this is different from the sustainability assessment report, which we'll also hear a little bit more about later in this meeting. So that I've started drafting some language for the sort of looking back on 2024 portion of that, and I hope to be able to bring that to everybody at our next meeting to kind of go over and discuss and figure out if there's anything that we want to change or add to that. And then hopefully today we could spend a little time talking about what we might want to do going forward in the next year, and that can get incorporated into that draft document as well. And I'll also point out that in the new Title II code changes that we were just talking about, there's also language in there that specifies, an annual report. And I know that there is work being done both at the council level and then also in the city clerk's office to sort of standardize how those sorts of reports are done across all the different boards and commissions. So something we'll be keeping an eye on. There might be a template available to us that will kind of slot that language into. Just wanted to get that on people's radar. And then something that I think is kind of interesting is that it's 2025. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of this commission, which held its first meeting in, I think, October of 2005. So I just think it's an interesting opportunity to maybe reflect on kind of what this commission has achieved throughout that time period. And take some of those lessons forward as we kind of plan out what we want to do with the next year ahead and how we want to get the commission going on a trajectory into the future so that it can be successful. Okay, so those are the kind of the general updates. We'll move on to the next slide here.
I think there's a couple messages in the chat, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I would like to record to write my report.
It's already being recorded. I'll put a message in the chat that you can go to CATS, the, what's it called? Community Access Television Service. If there's someone that can drop the link to that, I'd appreciate it. But if you Google Community Access Television Service, Bloomington, Indiana, and Google this date, and look for the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability meeting, you'll be able to see the entire recording of this meeting. So.
Yeah, perfect. And they also post a lot of their videos to YouTube. So I'm willing to bet if you go to YouTube and type in the name of this commission, you'll probably find videos that come up. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll pause for a second and just ask if there's any questions from the commission as to the last updates that we were just talking about before I move on to election stuff.
Just a quick comment, there was a podcast, the A12 podcast, there's a new person that, I don't know if you're covering that in your portion, there's a new person that's the liaison for all the liaisons and is managing all of the commissions and whatnot. And
Yeah,
so I
Jennifer
suggest
Crossley,
everybody,
right?
yeah, I suggest everybody listen to that 812 podcast to get a better idea.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. It was a good one.
And Zero, you're asking about contact info for our new member?
For the reporter.
Oh, for the reporter. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, the reporter.
Okay. So if there's no further questions or comments there, we can talk a little bit about elections. So this is a little snippet from our bylaws, Article 3, Section 2, which talks about the annual meeting, specifically referring to the meeting that we have in March each year. There's 3 things that we're supposed to do. So the election of officers is one of them. There's also supposed to be an annual review of bylaws, and then there's also supposed to be sort of this review of an annual sustainability assessment. So I think 2 and 3 we haven't done with great regularity, but I think that's maybe to number 2's point, which is we're probably overdue for an examination of the bylaws. There's probably some changes that should be made there. Like, do we really need to review the bylaws every March, or can we do it when we feel like it's needed? And especially referring to the sustainability assessment, do we want to have hard deadlines in there encoded in the bylaws, or do we want to soften that language up, right? Because we probably won't have something quite ready for the commission to approve by that time, even though those efforts are in progress. Amending the bylaws in a single meeting is also, tricky to do. But the annual selection of officers is one that we try to do every March, as long as we're able to meet. And so I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about what that's going to look like, or at least what it's looked like in the past. It's generally been a pretty relaxed process. Generally, everybody just shows up, and we go position by position and ask if anyone's interested, and then nominate them on the spot. We can certainly do that process again, but if anyone is interested ahead of time, knows that they're going to be interested in running for something, then it might make more sense for us to collect nominations outside of the meeting cycle, and maybe people could submit a couple sentences about what they plan to do with that position or something. So I might, definitely open to suggestions from the commission about how we want to handle that. If there's not a lot of strong feelings, I might just send out a Google form or something that would allow people to nominate somebody or themselves and include a little note about why they think that person would be good for the position. And then we can kind of bring those nominations with us next time and go through them. And if anyone else kind of wants to run ad hoc, we can, in the moment, we can do that as well. So on that point, any comments, suggestions, questions about the process? We'll talk more about what each position entails.
The sustainability assessment report and the commission report, two separate things, right? Is that,
Yeah, the annual report, is that?
Yeah, sorry. Is that a report strictly of like activity in the commission? Because I assume Sean does annual sustainability city level reports, or what?
It would just be
strictly
about the
okay.
commission's
Got it.
activities, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Does that sound like a good plan, doing some sort of Google form thing?
Seems simple enough.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll circle back to that in a second, but I just want to go to the next slide here just to show the different positions that are available. So there's 4 of them, or there's 3 of them, depending on how we want to do it. So when there's 4 positions, you have a chairperson, a vice chairperson, a secretary, and a treasurer. When there's 3, you combine the chairperson and vice chairperson positions into just 2 co-equal co-chairs, which we have done in the past before. So it's kind of up to the group which direction we want to go, and the bylaws, specify what those duties are. So I'll let you kind of look them over there. But the secretary position is essentially, keeping the written minutes, formatting those, getting them ready to go. The treasurer position is a position that we're required to have by city ordinance, I believe. Yeah, at least since I've been here in the recent past, we haven't had a treasury. So the treasurer, aside from just being part of kind of an executive committee, hasn't had a lot of specific responsibilities. I think it would be nice if that changed. If we, we're going out and finding external funding sources that we were collecting from, then the treasurer would be responsible for kind of tracking all of that. So it's definitely something that we have to have. But yeah, not a lot to do, at least at the moment, as far as official responsibilities. The chairperson is essentially just collecting input from everybody in terms of building an agenda for each meeting, putting that agenda together, making sure it gets circulated, kind of tracking who's currently on the commission and all that kind of stuff based on communications from our staff liaison and based on what's on board. Just making sure everyone's kind of tracked in that way, and then of course running the meetings, and coordinating activities that the executive committee has, like putting together those annual reports and that sort of thing. And then in the case of co-chairs, at least in the past, there's been sort of a written agreement between the 2 co-chairs of how certain responsibilities might get split between the 2 of them. And I think that is listed there in that definition. So if you're thinking you want to run for something but you're not sure, hopefully this helps you narrow it down a little bit. If you're interested in running for these positions but you want to know more, definitely feel free to reach out to one of us that's currently serving. We don't have a vice chairperson right now, but I'm happy to talk to anyone about what the chairperson role includes. While I'm, at least pending reappointment, but if I'm reappointed, I certainly plan to stay active within the commission, but I'm not specifically planning to run for the chairperson position again. I think it's good, especially in a group like ours that sometimes has a lot of turnover, to kind of keep the leadership fresh whenever possible. So I think having that kind of change of the guard is a good thing. So yeah, happy to talk to anybody who's interested in taking up any of those positions. So that's all I have on election topics. So questions, comments, concerns?
Pretty straightforward.
Cool. All right. Well, in that case, keep an eye out for Google nomination forms, and we'll go from there. Cool. Okay, so agenda-wise, that's everything that I had for my report, I believe. So we'll go on to Waste Management Working Group with Matt. Anything from that group?
Yeah, a couple quick things. The Waste Reduction District in January approved the RFP with Rumpke. So middle of the year, June or July, is the timing. As of now, we'll see. There's going to be switching over. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because since I started on the commission, I've been trying to figure out cartons recycling, okay? So you're gonna be able to take all of your cartons, milk cartons, et cetera, and you're able to take those now to the Waste Reduction District because Rumpke, or Republic, that currently services the city of Bloomington residents, does not accept those. And it'll just go into their cardboard recycling. And the Waste Reduction District, that's one of their highest products that have profitability is their cardboard. So I'm going to continue to say this every single meeting, and I think the city and others need to put it out that take all that stuff to the Waste Reduction District, because if the city has certain goals of reducing trash going to landfill by 30-40% by 2030, there's no way the city's going to hit that. No chance, because the city's not doing enough. And they continue to re-sign with Republic. So the other thing that I would like to do is, as a commission, make a statement that we support the city when there's a new RFP signing with Rumpke, because Rumpke is doing more than Republic. And I look forward to the cease and desist letter from Republic being accepted. And then the other thing, I'll be sending out a quick, survey to find out if you're available. Caldwell's Inc., we're also looking for food waste solutions. So they do food waste on a larger scale. They service Kroger and many other large corporations. They're out of Shelby County, so Shelbyville. And either the first or second week of March, I've already talked to them. We're looking at setting up a tour. It'll be a 1.5 to 2 hour tour of their facilities. And we're looking for additional stakeholders like IU Health, Cook, others to be a part of that tour, because then we can coordinate and bring the costs down for all the hauling that's going to be involved. And they have all the containers to keep all the food waste contained from animals and all that sort of stuff. But so I'll be sending out that information within this next week. So please let me know what your availability is. It'll most likely be a morning, one of the first 2 weeks of March, and it should be hopefully a half day get back to Bloomington, because it's about an hour and a half there, hour and a half back. 2 hours will be about 5 hours total. So hopefully we'll be back for the second half of work, unless if the second half of the day is better for you, and then just please indicate that on the survey. So, yep. So Rumpke and then Caldwell's.
Awesome, thanks. So, so you were saying that for the Rumpke RFP, that was the Waste Management District that approved that one, and the city of Bloomington still is reviewing.
Is with Republic, and there's very little visibility into that being chosen. The city supposedly is best and lowest cost, but it hasn't been best because Republic doesn't sequester methane. They're building that in now, is my understanding, but they currently don't. And then there's a lot of things that they don't recycle. They don't take the glass either from Bloomington. For whatever reason, they refuse to do that because it's not profitable. But Republic is a company that's owned by shareholders, and so they're beholden to them. And Rumpke is a privately owned company, and they do things, in my opinion, a lot better.
But this is something that the city is like actively considering.
They do an RFP, I think it's either every year or every 2 years.
Okay.
And so there's little to no visibility into it.
Yeah.
And so I was just hoping that, as a commission, right, the sustainability, we don't want things that could be recycled to be thrown in the landfill, but that's currently what's happening. So, I think it makes sense from my point of view, maybe not yours, but from my point of view, it makes sense for us to take a stand and to say, this is who we believe the city should go with. Because unlike with the Waste Reduction District, I was able to make a comment on what I believed was best for the county and for my fellow citizens. But that's not the case with the city. So how else can we make our voices heard except through a commission like this?
And is that the city council that it ultimately decides
Nope.
that? It's the
City council has nothing to do with that.
Okay. It's the city
Correct me if
administration.
I'm wrong.
On the Rumpke contract?
No, on an RFP, they have absolutely nothing to do with
Okay.
it. They can make a statement saying, we believe this is right, but they have zero, I can't say zero influence, but.
Well, we have an
They don't
appointment
really
on the solid waste board.
Right.
It
Okay.
has a voting.
Okay.
Has a voting role, but that's true. It's the administration that will.
Yep.
Well, yeah. So one thing we could do if we wanted to take a stance on that would be to pass a resolution stating
Yes.
that that's where we're at. So if you're interested, maybe for the next meeting, or I don't know what the time scale looks like for that, but when the time is right, maybe a presentation to the commission that could make the case, and then the commission could discuss and debate whether like everyone's on the same page, and if so, then having some draft language for like a resolution that we could then look into passing.
Yeah, I forget if it was
Maybe the next
2022 or
steps.
2020. Well, maybe it was either 2023 or 2024. I forget when the last RFP was, but I tried to push, and there's just once again no visibility into
Okay.
that. So
Yeah.
I had just to follow up on your comment on the food waste. At IU, we're piloting a food dehydrator for one of the larger dining halls.
awesome.
The idea is that most of your food waste back of houses by weight is water, right? So if you can dehydrate it, you can transport it, it's easier to handle. So we might pilot it at a second one as well, but essentially part we haven't solved yet is where we're going to take it.
Yep.
And we're looking internally, but if there's a way to partner with the city, looking at,
Sure.
potentially like larger amounts, to
Sharing
get
the
somebody
cost.
interested. Yeah, exactly, something like that. We'd be happy to talk about that for sure.
Yep, that's the point. We want to get large stakeholders to take the tour and then get that conversation rolling.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, we got a grant from the state, so we're going to give it a try.
Cool.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Next up, we got the ad hoc committee, the sustainability assessment report from Tara, and I believe we have.
I have just an outline.
Perfect.
So thank you. So what I've shared here is just like a rough outline that I put together. I've been sick, or my kids have been sick almost nonstop for the last 2 months. But this is sort of a rough outline that I wanted to share for feedback about if people have like additional recommendations for things. There's so much documentation in this across the city's website and all the other data sources. So if you have other ideas of things that you think would demonstrate like progress towards CAP goals, or things that are potentially like hindering CAP goals for the city, we could figure out what the best way to talk about that is. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, it was the sort of process. and this might come up in the later agenda item about the email from the city attorney about business and conducting business, because so the initial plan for this was the subcommittee, it was the ad hoc committee, it was myself, Evan, and Andrew. I wasn't able to schedule working sessions. Evan was away, and because I was ill, it was hard to schedule like in-person sessions that we could do. And the guidance that we got is that we cannot co-work in a document. So I had to shut off their access to the document, which really just like slows down the ability of multiple people. Now also there's a question of like, do we replace Andrew on the subcommittee, or do we move forward just Evan and I? Do I write something fully and then have Evan review it before we bring it to the commission? I don't know what the best way forward is to get something in front of y'all for our next meeting, because that is when it's supposed to be done by, and also be in compliance with that. So Justin, that's all I have for today. So Justin, I'll like leave it to you to how you think the best way is to kind of navigate. I asked like 4 questions in there. I don't know if we want a discussion now or if there's like another way to approach it.
Yeah, I think I don't have good answers for most of those. I mean, yeah, and we've got the email that Tara was referencing on the agenda as well, which we'll talk about shortly. Yeah, I don't know if there's an easy solution to that, because it's a separately in panel subcommittee, so to speak, of this commission. It has to abide by all the same open door laws that we do, right? When there's a quorum of those members meeting. So yeah, when you've got a group of distributed people that are all trying to put together a draft document to bring to a larger body, it gets tricky. It might be that the most straightforward solution is one of them that you mentioned, Tara, is one person drafts a sort of baseline, and then that gets sort of brought before everybody, maybe before getting handed off to another individual to like take it to the next step. And then there's just these checkpoints where this draft document is sort of circulated, so that you don't have a quorum of this group working on the document all at one time. But otherwise, I don't have any great suggestions, but there's some hands up around the room. So
well, I don't exactly have a suggestion, but I want to thank Tara for the effort she's put in and struggling, working through that, and Andrew and everyone working on that document. The other thing is, in the position I'm in, I've been creating some workflows because I am in the position so few hours per week. I have a lot to do. So it seems like with the constraints, that looking at a possible workflow of how we could do this, putting down the constraints, and then that we could streamline the process, especially since this is a big job. If anyone, I'm sure everyone here has looked at all the data and all the points that the city's trying to cover, that I'm not quite sure how, when to start it and when to finish it, since we only meet once a month, and with how we're still not at capacity. And I joined in, June was my first, and we've already had a lot of turnover since then, May, June. So I'm a little concerned with getting any progress done if we don't have some systems in place.
I'm still confused about the content here, because some of this looks like it's about the city in general and not any activities of the commission. Is that right?
It is. So this is the sustainability assessment, which is separate from the annual report. This is like, in our bylaws, we are tasked with establishing metrics for kind of grading the city on their progress towards sustainable goals. And then I want to say like in October, we voted on taking a different approach. The report hasn't been written in several years. So Justin, I offered to work on it, and Justin let me kind of put together a suggestion for the approach. And so instead of using metrics which the commission has used in the past that are now all documented by the city on the climate action dashboard, we propose doing a policy assessment of the city focused around one climate action goal. So none of this is about the commission. This is like an analysis of what the city has done or is reporting to do recently towards this specific goal, and then our recommendations as a commission for like changes to city code, budget priorities, whatever it comes from. So what I'm doing is basically what I would like to do, ideally in collaboration with other people, but if I have to do it for like the first draft on my own, is kind of put together the data, the qualitative and quantitative data that we have available about the city's action around this, and then bring it to the commission for like, given all of this information, what do we recommend to the city?
I also want to say
Did that answer your question? Okay.
I just wanted to throw in there that you won't see everything on the dashboard. We're trying to put metrics on there of things that have been completed, but you won't know the things that are in progress. And so I'm happy to meet with you, talk about some projects that we have currently going on that will probably help fill in some of the gaps.
That would be great, yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the metrics that are on there are the same metrics that were reported in previous assessments from BCOS, and I didn't want to duplicate the work that y'all had already done. So I think that would be really helpful. I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Also, hello?
Yep, we got you.
Ash Kulak is the liaison for the CAPS Commission, and recently informed us that there has been an amendment to the open door law in the form of some kind of subcommittee structure that isn't as subject to all of the laws. I don't know if that applies to those document issues, but you might talk to Ash Kulak about this new provision or amendment to the ODL that may allow for some looser structure for a sort of sub-body to then advise into the body.
Okay, great.
I was just curious, so do we have you said you mentioned the dashboard. Do we have a report that kind of summarizes maybe some of the major like goals and sort of milestones that the city has achieved over, I don't know, the last 5 or 10 years? So that way we could kind of like see like what we would want to recommend, based on where things are at in these different categories, or?
We worked really hard last year in getting everything into the dashboard.
Okay.
And I provided an update to City Council near the end of last year, maybe in October, of all the different projects that we've completed the last couple of years. I haven't had the capacity to sit down and write a formal report because everything is in the dashboard.
So just go to the dashboard.
Go to the dashboard. That's where you're going to find the majority of the information of what we've already completed.
Gotcha. No, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may have, if what we had done was just had a couple people, 3 people say, from the commission that agreed to just take this on, and they went and worked on it on their own without getting any input from anybody else, then, there would never be an opportunity for that group while they're working on that to actually reach a quorum, and those open door laws then wouldn't apply, right? So they could.
I don't know that that's true though, based on the email from the city attorney, because he said even like working group stuff, like.
Yeah, I think.
Maybe we could talk about.
Yeah,
about it.
My understanding is.
Hold this, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry. My understanding is things change once you if there's some official sub-organization within then that triggers, the open door law rules to apply to that specific sub-organization that was created by the authority of the larger parent organization, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
I guess sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Dave to comment. So the commission, it serves basically like members serving on the city council. So if you have city council members who are part of a subcommittee, that meeting has to be noticed. If there's documents that you're going to be working on, that has to be included in the notice. So I don't see that subcommittees of BCOS would be different.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right, okay,
Right.
yeah.
But if they weren't official subcommittees, if it were just two people, say, that weren't part of a formal subcommittee, like if two members of the city council wanted to work on an amendment for a particular, thing that was coming before the council, it wouldn't have to be, it wouldn't be like an official subcommittee of the council, right? Like they could work on that together.
I guess the question is, maybe this requires an attorney, but when committees meet or when groups meet, are you doing something that's actionable, or are you just as you said, when members of the council or BCOS meet and they work on something? So I guess if there were recommendations coming from that subcommittee, that would need to be a public meeting. But I think just members working together is not precluded, I would think. Sean, what do you think? Is that do I have that correct?
I think the email. I'll just pull up the email from Larry since we're talking about it.
Sure.
So I believe what Larry stated in his email is that if there's members of BCOS that are meeting to work on a document together, that meeting would need to be publicly noticed, and the document would need to be included in the packet.
So yeah, I think with this, because of the kind of short timeline and because this is already behind, what you suggested, Evan Justin might be a good way forward for now, and then we can revisit if we want to dissolve this subcommittee and then do it as a working group of what you suggested, which is that I will write a first draft. I will bring it to the March meeting for review of commissioners, and then maybe if Evan has capacity and wants to do it this way, that he takes the revisions process. And then I just want to move forward on it since we're already behind. It's been 6 years since one of these has been written, so.
Right.
I think something that might also allow us to work separately is if we divide sections and then have different documents for each of those, we can
That's a good idea.
be strict about only one of us working in each of these documents at a time. While that's contributing to the report as a whole, it would allow us to still keep that clean.
That's a good point.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. I really like that. And then if we can present what we have each done at the next meeting to then get recommendations from the group, I think that's a good way forward.
And we could even pass these documents back and forth to each other as long as we're not both currently editing at the same time. Okay.
That was the thing I think that's based on my interpretation of this email, which I might be interpreting it incorrectly, was that even asynchronous collaboration on a document is not allowed.
Yeah. That was
I think what you would do is you would send your individual documents to me. I would compile them and then put them in the notice for the meeting that you'll have.
I see. Okay.
So they need to be made publicly available before the other one of us does anything to them.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Okay, great. Yeah, then I guess we talk over email and split this up, and then we'll report next month.
Great. Thank you all. And then, Justin, what's the best way for, because now that the commission has had a chance to view the outline and kind of the structure, what is the best way for recommendations for like additional data from the rest of the commission at the meeting next month, or like, can we do that over email?
I don't know if we can do that over email.
Okay.
Probably not.
Do we have a working session scheduled this month?
I think if people are interested or available for a working session, say 2 weeks from today, then I'd be happy to do that. And then we could,
Okay.
just spend some time kind of going through everything you got in your outline there and getting the input. Yeah.
It says here in the email just that commissioners should avoid sending group emails and
Right.
even replying to all. Even if you're replying to me, make sure it's not reply all, that you're just replying to me. Because it's an online discussion.
I see.
So individual emails, I think, are fine, but not to everyone.
Do we have anyone with historical knowledge for when the last one was done, so we would know how, I mean, it feels like nothing will get done. I mean, not that our intentions aren't there, but that there's so many barriers to getting something done, except unless we're, in the same physical location.
I think the last one was done in 2017. Is that right, Justin? That was the
Yeah,
most recent
that
one that
sounds
was
right.
available
Yeah.
when I was reviewing old ones. This may be why. It's the complexity of working asynchronously. But I think we have a way forward for right now, at least. And then once we get this one done, like worst case scenario, I will just write it and we'll revise it as a team. But we committed to doing this collaboratively, and I think it will be better if it is done collaboratively. But also we have to do something. But so then, I would just propose that in a future meeting, we kind of rethink the structure and how it relates to the guidance that we've gotten about
Yep.
open door law.
Mhm.
That's all for me. Sorry, I took a little bit more time.
No, that's good. And I think it dovetails with the next item on the agenda. Or I'm sorry, nope. But it still dovetails with something we'll be talking about here shortly. So I think that's helpful. Thank you, Tara. And thanks for all the work that you and the team have put into this so far. It's coming together nice. Okay, report from council. Councilmember Raleigh.
Well, we're kind of running short of time. Is that all right?
Yeah.
A couple brief things. Council took action, speaking of Title II, to reform the transportation advisory bodies, to merge them into the Transportation Commission. That was voted on last week. So it merges Bike and Ped, Safety Commission, the Traffic Commission, and the Parking Commission. And then essentially all the duties of those three commissions fall under this omnibus commission, the Transportation Commission. So things like infrastructure, traffic calming, bike lanes, stop signs, parking meter rates, and other things. I voted against it. I find that this commission has a certain ambiguity about its role, and it mostly has to do with there's a certain interpretation from the corporate counsel, the administration's attorney, and the council as to what the council's role is in this. We used to have final say over a number of things. The interpretation of state statute by the administration council is that they have the sole power to implement all of these things through their engineer. So in any case, this commission is advisory only, but it does have a role to play, which is good, and has good aspects to it. But that, if you wondered why I voted against it, that was why. And I did want to announce, maybe this came across the email or something, that there's a Sustainability and Resilience Conference. Did we send out an email announcement about that? This is ERI and the Environmental Resiliency Institute at IU is sponsoring this on February 28th, which is a Friday, all day long, 8:30 to 4 p.m. And there were a number of topics: clean energy funding, climate action planning for cities, schools, and corporations, resilient food systems, and agrovoltaics. There's a registration fee of $75 unless you're a student, it's $25. And I was going to ask, I should have sent you an email, but is it possible, can we explore whether commissioners could be reimbursed as sort of to go to attend this conference? You don't have to tell me now.
I'm not sure.
Could we look into that? Because, it's $75, it's a fee, significant for some folks, and it would be great if we had members got from this body. Yep.
I just realized there isn't time. I was going to say, could we write a working group? Could we write a BCOS grant for it? But there wouldn't be time to vote on it in advance of that.
I was thinking retroactively.
This year's conference.
Yeah.
This might, with this being an IU associated function, there could be funding to cover it if that would be something that, if sustainability at IU could help.
I'm not sure with the conference just a few weeks away, with everything in front of legal right now, if I could get an answer by then.
I'll fish around and find out if it's possible.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is that the Sustainability Action Plan for the city, which was adopted in 2018, it was meant to be a 5-year plan, and it's now year 7 or 8, and we ought to be maybe thinking about revising that plan. And this body would be in a good position to at least explore topics that might, be included in that. So that's all I've got.
And I have registered for that ERI conference, and it was kind of a steep decision to make, about $75. So it would be great if there was a mechanism to be reimbursed on that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll turn some attention back to the email from Larry Allen about the BCOS document access. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we've already had some discussion about this already. But since it did go out to everybody, I wanted to make sure we at least had an opportunity to discuss what some of the implications are, maybe gather up questions. If there's enough questions or concerns about this that commissioners have, then maybe we'd want to look into at a future meeting compiling a list of questions that we would then want to send over to the legal department or something to get some feedback on. Really, this all sort of kicked off when we lost the access to the Google Drive that we had before, which according to city IT policies, I think we were never supposed to have in the first place. And then of course there's the open door law concerns as well, with people having access to collaboratively work on documents together in a shared place. So those are sort of the initial concerns that led to that access being removed. And in the meantime, been sort of trying to figure out a good solution to give people access to the full suite of documents that exist, not just the ones that are on onboard, so that we can use them for reference. Like I mentioned before, we're coming up on 20 years in this commission. I think all the minutes and agendas and stuff that are on onboard only go back, 10 or 12 years or something like that. So as a sort of, at least maybe temporary workaround, I just put everything that I had from the old Google Drive and that I've dug up on the internet myself into a read-only Google Drive folder that I then shared with everybody. And So at least people can find documents in there. Larry Allen made the point in this email that that's, maybe not considered to be the true source of BCOS documentation, right? The city retains sort of the ownership of what are considered the official files. The idea here is just have a system in place where commissioners, especially new commissioners as they join, can go and look at the institutional history of this commission, get an idea for the work that's been done already. There's a lot of documents in there that don't lend themselves very well. I shouldn't say a lot of documents, but there's some documents in there that don't lend themselves well to a sort of onboard thing. For example, I had a spreadsheet that I was using to just track other commissions and organizations that we might want to interact with at some point and form partnerships with or something like this. And so I just had made a spreadsheet where if I go to an environmental commission meeting, I was going to make a note of that and, jot down a couple notes. And then other commissioners can look at that if they want to know, hey, what's going on with these other commissions, or when's the last time we reached out to somebody over here? Do we know somebody there? It's not really a formal document that's like an output of this commission. It's not something that we're approving or taking real action on. It's just kind of a reference document, right? We also have some old PowerPoint presentations and stuff that we've given when we go to other organizations and present the work that we're doing in the past. So a lot of stuff like that, is not on board yet. I know he mentioned in here somewhere that the documents that were on the Google Drive, I think said in the process of being uploaded to onboard or something along those lines. I haven't seen that yet. There's a lot of documents that are in the Google Drive that are just not on onboard. So that's kind of the challenge that we face. And of course, I know it's, we've been told that if we need a specific document, we can always ask for it, right? Those documents still exist. But it's hard to know what to ask for if you don't know what's there, especially as a new commissioner, right? So that being said, I just want to kind of open it up to the group for a brief discussion. What are your concerns? What are your questions? Do we want to follow up on this, or should we turn our attention to other things? So I'll open it up to the floor.
I have something that's related but not exactly, so I don't want to open a whole can of worms. But if someone is going to the city's website and they see the different boards and commissions, and we each have a web page, is there any way for us to have something that's public facing that can be accessed? And then also, I know with, say, WordPress, since that's what I've used, there's an ability to put in a button to where you can, anyone who's approved and has like the key, whatever that is, could access whatever is beyond that. So I'm not familiar with Onboard really, but I was thinking that could that be a solution that would also allow the public to actually know what BCOS does? Because otherwise this is them. We have no one knows what it is that's going on with us, rather than going anywhere else. So that, and then could that page then also be password protected portal for members and our documents that we could access?
So this website is maintained by ESD. And so if you want to add more description here, I'm happy to do that.
And like any of the documents that we might be creating, it seems like it would be nice to actually have those accessible to the public and not just have a longer description.
I think any documents that you have that BCOS has created has to be uploaded to Onboard.
I mean, if there were select documents that we wanted to make available, I'm sure we could probably at least add links to that front page, right? Like if we had a new sustainability assessment report,
Okay, yeah.
that could probably be at least linked, I would think. But is that kind
Yeah,
of sure.
so that, if you want to know what is going on, what is being worked on by BCOS right now, this is where you can go to find out, whether. Otherwise, we just have like a billboard that's, if we had something more interactive where someone could actually get in to see what we're doing, maybe we'd have more people here and involved.
So I have the ability to add documents to a website, and so you say the sustainability assessment report could be one of the documents on here?
Absolutely.
I feel comfortable with that. We would have it on onboard and here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we have a reports tab, and I can't remember if there's anything like there, but that might be where. Yeah, we've got some stuff there. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's probably more that we could do with that webpage, and that kind of ties in with some of the social media stuff we've talked about before as well. I think just having more of an outward presence that can bring people to the website, bring people into the meetings, get people plugged in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of our own commission functioning, I mean, access to the documents and things like this, are there any other questions or concerns people wanted to bring up?
Well, the current way that you suggested accessing them does sound problematic. Like you said, you don't know it's there unless you know it's there. And it doesn't sound like that's going to change unless we ask it to. Is that correct?
I mean, right now we don't have read access. The commission doesn't have read access to the Google Drive that the city has. I don't know if it'd be possible to have read access, if not write access. Right?
I combed through every document that was in the Google Drive, and I had an intern upload every document that I thought was worth uploading. The only things that I didn't have her upload were things like random notes from some conference that someone went to that,
Gotcha. Okay, so then it is all accessible.
everything's there that should be there in my mind.
It's all on onboard?
It's all on onboard.
Oh, okay.
You got everything that's important there.
Everything that's important.
And we get a lot of stuff's in the dashboard too, so, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I combed through every document that I had access to. But if you go through and you see something, Justin, that you have that's not up there, just email it to me and I'll upload it.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments before we move on? Okay. In that case, our next item is talking about priorities for 2025. So I think having a kind of deep dive discussion of trying to kind of put together a vision for what we might want to focus on and what we want to achieve for the year is probably something we need a little bit more time for than what we have on the agenda today. So I think it might be a good candidate for a work session. So if we're having a work session soon, maybe we're splitting it. Doesn't have to be half and half, but kind of between these two topics of sustainability assessment report and commission priorities. The way that I've seen this happen in some other commissions, take the Environmental Commission, for example, is usually, I think it's the first meeting of the year. They'll usually, I think, elect new officers, and they'll also, pull out a big pad of paper and start going around the table and just throw in every idea that comes to their head together. Then they'll start to kind of group like ideas together and start to get a vision for kind of what are the big areas that they really might want to focus on and where people are really feeling enthusiastic about particular areas, so that they can really match up. Hey, here's going to be some really high impact things that we could do, and we've got the people that are enthusiastic about them. We'll match those people up, and then people start putting their names by stuff. Okay, I'll take this one, I'll take that one. And by the end of the meeting, they've got a pretty good game plan. It was really good to see. So I think we could do something like that here, or we could kind of go about it a different way. For today, I think I just wanted to have a general discussion with the group of what people think might be a good way to kind of approach that. Do we want to do that sort of thing like the EC did, where we're just brainstorm session, get stuff on paper, start putting names by things? Or are there other ideas? We've, at least since I've been here, and I think a little bit before that, we've sort of focused on, individual initiatives and stuff, or like the working groups would focus on a particular thing like waste management or just transition, that sort of thing. I think, one role that this commission plays that I think we could use some work in is like the policy advising side of things. So passing some more resolutions where we say, hey, look, we don't have the expertise or the personnel or whatever to like make this thing happen, but here's what we think should happen, and here's who we think could make that happen, and this is our opinion. I think we could do more on that front. Kind of getting more involved in that process, and maybe looking at other things that are happening around Bloomington. There's a lot of development, housing type projects going on, right? New neighborhoods and stuff coming up, right? That may be something, maybe we want to identify some focus areas where we're like, we don't have a specific project in mind, but we really want to focus in on housing, sustainability in housing, or even like the economic sustainable aspect of housing. Like, there's not enough housing, or there's too much, or there's too much unoccupied housing, or it's too expensive. Are there certain kind of big picture problems that we want to kind of attack, even if we don't have a good sense for how exactly we would do that? But maybe we want to start really educating ourselves on those issues, so that we can start coming up with ideas. So just some thoughts. I'm going to open it up now to folks. I want to make sure we have some time for a staff liaison report. So maybe we'll go in for the next 10 minutes, and feel free to throw out ideas how we should maybe approach this looking ahead to 2025. Yeah, Brendan.
Yes, I think we could. I think it'd be good to form another working session meeting before the next meeting.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, as we approach this, what sort of information might help us sort of guide our thinking. So we have the city sustainability goals. We talked about the new residential development. It'd be nice to see like what is sort of on the horizon. Like, do we have a lot of construction? Do we have a lot of new traffic patterns, or I don't know, whatever, and sort of lay out sort of like, that 30,000 foot view of like, here's sort of what's happening, here's what's on the horizon. So that way we could look at how we might best align our priorities. If there's a lot of new housing development, maybe that makes sense. Do we want to like look at building, invite buildings, or suggest that they invite buildings to do a benchmarking analysis of their energy, or look at new, ways of construction or mitigation of construction waste, which is a huge waste stream as well. I think, I agree with that, with how you explained it there, sort of setting up, a number of, here's what we think you should do to answer the questions to take you to the next step. I think that makes a lot of sense, but as much information as we could have would be great. I don't know how we would go about pulling that all together, but.
Also, the CAPS Commission, we're reviving Housing Committee under the CAPS Commission, and we'll be meeting, I think, in the same room there on the 19th. So if anybody would like to be involved and, coordinate with the CAPS, between the CAPS Commission and BCOS, you can contact me and I'll give you the rest of the info.
Can you remind me what CAPS stands for?
Community Advisory on Public Safety.
Thanks. Cool. Other thoughts?
Personally, I'm really excited about the concept of a unified goal for the year for the whole commission. Again, there's that collaboration thing, but we can figure out a workflow for that. But having like you said, something was like, okay, policy advisement, like what does that look like? That's kind of a big thing. So how can we break that up if this is a whole year-long project? That sounds exciting to me and very impactful. And also I'll second the brainstorming session and just assigning things and how much the impact is. Sounds like a really good way to figure out what that unified goal would be.
I'm all for the policy because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a part of this. The other thing for the brainstorming session, I've been a part of those a few different times where we've used Post-it notes, and then we had different segments, say, on the wall, and we would take the Post-it notes and put it into whatever category, so we could see. Sometimes the Post-it notes were color-coded too. It's been a while since I participated in one of those, but that seems to speed up the process and create a nice consensus collaboration.
Yeah.
You could also do sticky dots and everybody gets to vote.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. Keep it
That
going.
Post-it note reminded me of a process I went through where it was like impact versus effort were like the two axes. So then we had ideas and we all like talked about, okay, how high impact is this? How high effort is it? And then we have to be honest about what capacity we have and then see what's like the highest impact thing that we honestly think that we could achieve. Because some things just like, it would be amazing, but it's not within our grasp. And other things maybe not have a lot of effect. So it's a good way to organize that.
And along those lines too, if you had a sort of going back to our guiding document and see, okay, what are our priorities, how, the way it's laid out, making sure that whatever we're proposing, aligns with that, how we've, proposed our time and, maybe, to your point that if we had something aligned for that we want to get done, it ends up being too big of a lift. Maybe we could have 2 or 3 priorities that we could be working on simultaneously and figure out which one actually makes it across the line or divide and conquer however we wanted to do it. But I think at least, my point being in the front of the whole sort of brainstorming session, I think it would make sense to take a step back and look at that, at the commission, what our goals are, and then start from there.
If I could just give a few pieces of advice, I would also look at your term limits and whatever projects you decide on, looking to see, whoever has committed to those projects, how long they're going to be a member. Are they planning on staying? Are they going to request to be reappointed? So you have that knowledge before you commit on anything. And then I also would say whatever projects, if you could have at least 3 people that are committed to that project, because things happen, people have to leave because there's at least 2 people that are remaining that can continue the work. So that's my 2 cents.
Follow up on that, 2 points. One of them I have here is the 2022 Climate and Sustainability Progress Report. Some of those we've made a lot of goals on. Are we still working and using that? Because, I know that since my thing is food and ag and food systems, that there are a lot of things that move forward. And on this one, according to this, there were 19 not started. So there's some things on that. I don't remember my other point, but that might be something else for priorities, not just the impact and having a few things going on at the same time. Do you know when we'll be possibly getting those 2 or 3 open mayoral appointments?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. I see Tara's got her hand raised online, and then John.
Yeah, I think also really thinking like kind of with an aggressive timeline around how we can utilize our grant funds for this year, since as part of the priorities, and focusing on the priorities that might need funding and getting those, like working on those earlier so we can encumber those funds, since we left so much on the table last year. In terms of working group available funds. And Sean, does the canopy still goes through even though the sponsoring member is not on the commission anymore, right? Do we need a new sponsoring member for that canopy?
No,
Okay.
it's really a contract between ESD and Canopy Bloomington.
Okay.
But Canopy Bloomington will need to come and give a report back to BCOS. That's
Okay.
a part of the requirements.
Okay. Yeah, the RFP just said that there needed to be like a sponsoring member, but I didn't know if that was just during the application phase or if it was throughout the project.
So for a working group proposal, you don't have to partner with an organization such as Evan and Zero's project. They don't have a sponsor.
Right. No. Sorry, a commissioner who is the sponsor of the project. So my question is, do we need a new commissioner sponsor for that project since Andrew is not on the commission anymore? It was his project.
I think for this particular project, really Canopy Bloomington is doing all the work. There wouldn't be a commissioner that's really involved unless they want to help plant the trees with Canopy Bloomington. But really Canopy Bloomington is managing the project and they'll report back to BCOS, but there really isn't a role for a commissioner for that project, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but I think focusing on our grant funds so that we're not scrambling at the end of the year to try to use the money would be a good use of that working session time too, is thinking about what would require dollars to execute.
Yeah.
And I am going to say that the deadline for proposals is December 1st.
Okay.
It just it's too difficult to squeeze in the review of the proposals and getting everything in line before the December meeting. So December 1st is the deadline.
Okay. Perfect. John?
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that let's start with the resources we have and make sure we use those, because we haven't. Let's aim for well before December 1st to have it.
Please.
Like August 1st, maybe?
Yeah, send me questions.
Hopefully throughout the year. Ideally.
I'm happy to help.
Again, we're looking at 10,000 for sustainable neighborhoods and 10,000 for commissioner working group projects,
That's
right? Okay.
Well, we don't have the sustainable neighborhoods anymore, right? That's just
It's
ESD now?
outside of BCOS, but it's still available if you
Okay.
want to help promote them.
It's something that, it
projects.
seems like we could,
Yeah.
that's right.
Perfect.
I feel like we could
I
work
think
around.
public education around sustainable neighborhoods would be a good priority for BCOS
Yes.
for getting those dollars.
Yeah. That leads into my report.
Did you have one more sentence? It looked like you were starting to-
I think we could work around that in terms of let's get some tangible plans and here's a pot of money. Let's figure out how to do something with it in the next 11 months, 10 months.
Definitely agree.
Like it's easy to spiral out into big topics about sustainability and not actually get much done.
Yep.
Energy is kind of the area that I focus on. I might have some, options to throw out there, but I would have to see kind of where we're at. So I'll be digging into the website hopefully before our next working session.
Yep. Perfect. Well, I'll plan to schedule that for 2 weeks from today then, unless there's something weird on the calendar I haven't thought about. But yeah, so stay tuned for a meeting notice for that. Sean, staff liaisons report.
Oh, sorry.
Wonderful. Okay, I just wanted to go through the Sustainable Bloomington newsletter that Jolie put together, and we're just really proud of this. She did such a great job. So all of this information is on our dashboard and on our websites. But I just wanted to talk about, I'll be giving a presentation to City Council about the greenhouse gas inventory, but I wanted to talk about the events that we have going on now. We're promoting our Spring into Sustainability Challenge. So if you're a part of an organization or if you want to help spread the word to other organizations about this, this is using our Zero in Bloomington platform where organizations can register to be a part of the Spring into Sustainability Challenge. Their members can log climate actions in the platform, and whichever organization logs the most climate actions between March 1st and the end of March, is that March 31st? the month of March, whoever logs the most actions will win a cash prize. And so first place is $500, second place is $400, third place is $300, and on down the line. We'll also have gift baskets for participants as well. So we're going to announce the winners at Earth Day, which is our Earth Day celebration is April 19th at Switchyard Park from noon to 4. And I would love to see a Bee Coast table there where you're promoting sustainable neighborhoods, you're talking about the funding that the working groups have, and, you know, talking about possible, you know, partnerships. There's going to be a lot of different organizations there. So it'd be great to have Bee Coast have a presence there and get to know people and, you know, mingle. And so save the date. It's April 19th at Switchyard Park, and it's going to be another great celebration. I don't know if any of you were there last year, but we're going to have Busman's Holiday there again playing. They're a wonderful local band. Food trucks. Lots of different organizations. We're hopefully going to have the Bloomington Environmental Commission there again. They have an Eco Heroes art contest, and so hopefully they'll be able to do that again. We'll have electric vehicles there, lots of different vendors, so I hope to see you all there. And then the IU ERI conference. Project 46 is a sponsor. So Project 46 is the regional climate alliance between Bloomington, Nashville, and Columbus. And so we're happy to be sponsors. We'll have a table there telling people about Project 46 and all the things that we're doing. And then all of these different programs, I would love for all of you to help spread the word about the funding that's available. It's our, we're relaunching our solar energy efficiency and lighting program. We just issued an RFP for the 2025 program, and this year we're providing $25,000 for nonprofits and small businesses for solar installations, as well as $20,000 for a battery energy storage system. And those battery systems are for nonprofits, and so that's really important to increase climate resilience. Our Bloomington Green Home Improvement Program, we're getting ready to relaunch that. Before, we only provided $1,000 rebates for sustainability projects for homeowners. With our new program, we're going to substantially increase those rebates, and that's for solar installations, battery systems, upgrading your electric panel to be able to make those improvements, home EV charging stations, weatherization projects, windows and doors, and heat pump HVAC systems. So we'll have So for general population, the rebate amounts will be 25% up to $5,000. And then for low-income residents, it'll be 40% up to $10,000 for certain projects. So substantially revamping that program, and hopefully we're going to have a really big uptake and really see those projects being implemented.
So just a quick clarification, but
Yes.
you said 25% up to $5,000. So a typical main service panel upgrade is going to be about $2,000. So they would get 25% of that $2,000
No.
for $500.
No, so they're going to get a rebate amount for each thing.
Okay.
So, but you have to combine it with a solar, or it won't be just a solar.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
right. You have to have a combo.
So you get the $500, 25% of the main service panel upgrade, and
Yes.
the 25% of
Right.
the solar. Okay, gotcha.
We want to make the rebates enough where we can make it happen.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. And then, so electric coach training, just some really great resources if people are interested in learning more about what a heat pump HVAC system is. You know, you can take the training and learn about that and share that information. And then we have a new Instagram account, so we're putting a lot of information on there if you want to join our new Instagram account. Something that's not in our newsletter that I've been working really hard on is we're applying for a Coalition for Green Capital grant. The application's due March 5th, and I'm asking Bee Coast to be a community partner for this grant application. I have 20 different organizations that have already signed on for this grant application. So it's $250,000 if we're selected to be a part of phase 1. And And so that $250,000 would be used to pay for a marketing firm to build demand for these types of projects for renewable energy, zero emission transportation, zero emission buildings. We would have funding to create an energy navigator program. And this is where I would like BCOS to help. If we're selected for this funding, we would need volunteers to be a part of the Energy Navigator program, where volunteers would be trained on understanding the importance and the benefits of solar installations, energy efficiency, and be able to share that information out into the public. So giving group presentation, going door to door, providing information to residents, because we really want our greenhouse gas emissions to be reduced. We want cost savings to our residents. And so this would be a really great program to lift up off the ground if we get funding. The funding would also be used to hire an engineering firm and a financial consultant to be able to provide free technical assistance to developers, to businesses, to nonprofits, so that if maybe they're interested in solar or they're interested in energy efficiency, they can have that free technical assistance to provide the designs for those projects and financial modeling to understand what the costs would be. So if we are selected, we get a pipeline of projects together. We can apply for low-cost capital for those projects. So cross your fingers. So the community partners that I have so far that are going to help promote this program, we're partnering with the Indiana Energy Independence Fund. We had to partner with the Green Bank in order to apply. So we have Indiana Energy Independence Fund, South Central Community Action Program, Beacon, Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County, New Hope for Families, Bloomington Housing Authority, CDFI Friendly Bloomington, Bloomington Economic Development Corporation, Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association, Clean Energy Credit Union, Greater Indiana Clean Cities, IU-ERI, IU Office of Sustainability. So would BCOS be willing to be a partner as well? That's my question to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could definitely discuss it next time if you have more information that you can send around to.
Well, it's due March 5th, but I can send you the link to the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on that, or can we just say yeah?
You're just listed as a community partner that you're willing to promote the project. But I can send out an email, and I don't know. It's up to you.
I mean, if we're having a working session, we could put it up for a vote at that working session. As long as we have quorum, we could vote for something like that. You said March, what was it?
There you go.
It's March 5th.
March 5th. Okay, yeah, so we could, yeah, it would just be good to have some sort of solid, like, what does it mean to be a sponsor, right?
Justin, are you, I saw Jolie had sent in that email about the Earth Day event, the tabling form. Are you submitting a table for us?
I might have missed that email, so I haven't done anything on it yet.
I can forward it.
Okay, awesome.
I'm volunteering to be there. I'm going to be there anyway with my kids.
Perfect.
So I'm volunteering that if we need somebody from BCOS to be at a table, I can do it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Blue Bee is registered for a table as well, so I don't know if there's a document created or if anybody wants to use it. I don't know what the demand is on these tables, but we already registered.
Okay, yep, good to know. Okay, does that sound like a plan? We'll get some more information.
Okay, yeah, here's the website.
Try to
If you're
place a vote.
interested, I can.
Send out the website.
Perfect, awesome.
Do we need to vote to continue because we're out of time?
Well, I think we're at the end unless you had anything else in the report. Okay, well, thank you, Sean. In that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I had some. I didn't know if I was going to be on the.
Oh, if you've got something else to add, then we need to have a motion to extend that.
Yeah, I'd just like to have a few more minutes. That's okay.
I would actually, move that myself because I told you I was going to give you a little time and I lost track of that, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Stand for 10 minutes.
Yeah, if that, it could be 5.
For y'all to extend, do I need to be here for that?
No, we still have quorum.
No.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Right.
There's a motion to extend for 5 minutes. Is that right?
I also have to go. Will it not have quorum anymore?
5, 6, 7. We're good. 8. Thank you. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay, we'll go for an additional 5 minutes until 7:38.
Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead, Jim.
Okay, so seeing what's going on the national stage and some of the decisions that are being made, and under the area of resiliency, President Trump had mentioned that Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana are looked at to be locations for these massive data centers. That would be Damac Properties, Hussein Sanjawani, I think it's what his name is. So this is where the national could affect the local. In April, I'm just going to read some notes here. In April 2024, the City Council, over 2 sessions, discussed an issue in regards to a data center and the LEAP pipeline in rural farmland areas not far from Lafayette, Indiana. The pipeline would move about 100 million gallons daily from the Wabash River into Boone County. The data center is a very large structure. It requires a lot of water. I have some stats down here. I'm just trying to make this really fast. At the time it was mentioned, and since I've lived in California and Washington, anyone who's lived in the West will know that water is an issue. That's not always so recognized here as being an issue. And with the data center needing to use so many gallons per day, so if it's a hyperscale, that's 550,000 gallons of water per day. Wholesale retail, which is a smaller facility, would be 18,000 gallons per day. So Dave and Andy Ruff were ones that Andy led this, brought a number of people on to speak from these different towns in the northern part of the state and how that would affect the farmland there. Because we have the largest Lake Monroe in the state, and it had been talked about in the past of moving water via pipeline to the northern part of the state, as well as we have Griffey and a few, we have some large bodies of water, and the heating, the water is used to cool these facilities. And although there can be some reuse of water, it's still going to use a lot of water, and that is something, whether it's going to be located here or not, I think we need to revisit and consider. Let me go back to my notes here because I'm losing my track. Given Bloomington's enticements to tech businesses, and with Vivian AI recently announcing the move to the Forge, I'm concerned that the Monroe, this largest lake in the state, as well as enticement of these technology companies here, will cause some changes in the environment that we need to consider as part of the Commission for Sustainability. So we don't know what's going to happen with these. I don't know what part of the state may be looked at, but I think we may be considered, or a nearby location, and Lake Monroe may be considered a really desirable resource for these large facilities. So this is where the national not only comes to the state level, because that was what was discussed in these meetings. You can go back and watch them. I think it was in April 2024, to the local, which I did call in and voice my concerns at the time. So in regards, because my thing is food, we would probably need to look at food systems too, and how this is going to affect our local farms. I know it's been in the cities, I think it's in the 2022 Climate and Sustainability Progress Report, that there was the Sustainable Food Coordinator position that was talked about as being mentioned as a possibility. Community farms, there's grants for neighborhoods that we could utilize to help, like some of the grants that we have here to help prepare our community should this come along. I think that's something that we could really start keeping our eye on, because we really don't know at this point, but I know it's been mentioned, and President Trump has also mentioned this state in regards to education, which doesn't come under our purview, but I don't know how some of these things that are being mentioned, because he seems to be holding Indiana and a few other states because of our budgets and how we have a state that's not in the red as a desirable place. So I don't know where else and what other manner that may come up. I've not been able to keep up with all of these executive orders and deals that are being discussed and getting started. So anyway, throw that out there.
That's
So thank
okay.
you.
And likewise, we need to anticipate funding being cut off to various green initiatives.
Right, if it's federal funding, if it's at least going to be delayed, and we're already seeing some of that. I saw some of that come through my feeds this morning.
In my opinion, these data centers are a terrible idea. The super polluting coal power plants are loving the idea.
Okay.
It's going to affect ratepayers, not even including the water issue. That's all.
And he's not
So-
signed off on totally blocked off nuclear power either, as long as it's, so it may not necessarily be coal, it could be nuclear.
So topic for further discussion, definitely
Yeah.
something we maybe want to keep our eye on. Perfect. Okay, well, with that, we've reached the end of the meeting. So I don't think we need a motion for it, but yeah, we'll stand adjourned at 7:40.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.